I wanted to talk about the story going on in this video, which is when Balto got surgery. I want to talk about the why, when it happened, how he's doing after his recovery. We didn't think that it would be such a big deal. I mean, for me, it was very much a first time dog kind of experience. Balto is really my first dog, I would say. And for Chris, he's had Chihuahuas before, but not really a big dog in a while, so it was different for both of us to it was hard for us to adjust to a big dog and know like what he needs, what he eats, what he wants, like stuff like that. And so when he first started eating the rocks, obviously we thought it wasn't good, but we weren't like, oh, it's terrible. Sometimes we'd catch him, we'd take him out of his mouth, and then like starting the month of July, he started to eat. He was still eating rocks, and then he was, he still had diarrhea, which we thought was probably because we had changed his diet from his breeders, but we were like, it's been like 4 to 6 weeks now, and he should be getting over it. So we were like, it has to be something else, but we didn't know what, so we just kind of left the question unanswered. Time went by, and then he vomited in my car, and it was twice that it happened. The first time, it was the treats that we had given him, like I want to say 30 minutes prior. And so I thought, oh, it must have been like too many treats. He was like so full that his stomach just couldn't take it, right? So I was like, okay, I'll bring it back on the treats. I'll take it down. He vomited one more time. It wasn't a lot this time, but it was still worrying me. Like, it's been twice that he's done this. And then he actually vomited once inside. Luckily, I got him to vomit into the trash can. After that time in my car, which was technically the third time, I guess, that he had vomited, I was really worried, and so I told Chris, I was like, hey, like, I don't, like, it has to do with something else. And so we were like, maybe it's all because we also have, like, wood chips at our house. Maybe it's because he's been, like, eating wood chips and rocks, because the one time he threw up inside, I found wood chips in his throat. So I was like, oh, it must be something, like, that he's not supposed to be eating that is causing his stomach to be upset. So we took him to the vet on like mid-July, and the vet took him from 9 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, and he was there the whole day being examined. And the vet was like, okay, we need to take some x-rays, because from a physical exam we can't feel anything that might be causing his stomach to be upset or uneasy. So I was like, okay, do the x-ray session. And so she does it, and then they call me probably like at 2 and that day, and they're like, he does have like alien objects in his stomach, he has rocks in there. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, oh my goodness, Balto. Later on though, I realized, I was like, that was bad on me, because I'm supposed to be taking care of him. He does not know right from wrong if I don't teach him. So since I wasn't like necessarily correcting his behavior every time he ate a rock, he would keep doing it, which is what a dog would do, or anybody would do, if you don't know right from wrong. So she's like, we're gonna keep him in until like 5, and you can take him home. We want to see him back the next morning to see if he has passed any of those rocks, because they are currently in his colon. And so we were like, okay. So we took him home. The funny thing is, I wish I would have taken a video, a picture, something to show you guys his face. When I picked him up from the vet and he was in my car, he looked so pissed off that I had left him at the vet. Like, he had a resting bitch face. And like, it's funny to think about, but like, just imagine a husky ignoring you, first of all, during the car ride, because you left him at the vet. And so we took him home. They gave us some medication to give him. I think it was a pill. And so we got him to take it. Then we went in the next day, and they had to do another session of x-rays, obviously, to see if he had passed the ones in his colon. Oh, and by the way, they had told us that there were some rocks in his colon, and then they said it looked like 2 rocks, due to its abnormal shape. They didn't think it was just one rock, so they're like, we think it's 2 rocks that are in his stomach that don't seem to be passing. So the next day we go in for the x-ray session, and they look into his stomach, and he still has the 2 rocks in his stomach. The rest of the ones in his colon have passed from the day before, but now there are other new ones, which I mean, it probably were super small that the x-ray didn't catch that were in his stomach at the time, but those had passed. Just the 2 abnormal ones didn't. So they're like, hey, you need to rush over to the medical clinic right now. We're sending over your information, and they're gonna get you checked in as soon as you get there. We got there, and they're like, okay, let's take Balto in. They gave him like an exam. Then the thing that kind of frustrated me was the fact that when we get to the clinic, the doctor, not the nurse, the doctor comes in, and he's reviewing the x-rays with the nurse, and he's like, okay, we're gonna do this exam to see where the rocks are. In my head, I was like, does the x-ray not show you where they are? Like, they told me at the vet that he has 2 in his stomach, so how do you not know where they are if the x-ray should be telling you? He kept saying like, oh, like, do you want to do the checkup to see where they are, like how far along they are, or do you want to do that and the surgery, or do you just want me to go in with the surgery? I guess it clicked in my head. I was like, well, they told me at the vet that they're in his stomach. And he's like, oh, wait, can you pull up the x-ray again? So the nurse pulls up the x-ray, and he's like, oh, okay, I see them now. So I was like, what the heck? Like, you almost charged me for a exam that he didn't even need because the x-ray told you where the rocks were. They took him in at 10 in the morning, put him under anesthesia at 12, and I got a phone call at 12 when they had just put him into the anesthesia. And they're like, hey, by the way, do you want to get him neutered? Like, it would be a lot easier for him now that he's under to get him neutered if that's something that you want, as well as do the surgery. Like, no, we're just gonna skip on that today. But the moment I left the clinic, they had made me sign like consent form. That's what it's called. So, they told me, they're like, oh, death is an option. And I was like, no, death is not an option. And so, like, I guess that got into my head, and it was just like replaying in my mind. So the moment I left Balto at the clinic in the morning and I got in my car, I started bawling my eyes out. I was like, what if something does happen? Like, I know it's a possibility, and they have like backup procedures that will try to prevent death. And I was like, he's super young. If you think about it, he's a really young pup, and he had to go through surgery. Like, to me, nobody, whether dog, human, lizard, whatever you are, like, it doesn't seem right for you to be so young and have to go through a surgery. I know it happens around the world, but it just didn't seem right. So I got home, and I finally was able to distract myself. I got a call again, I think around, I want to say 3. They were like, hey, like, we're trying to wake up Balto now, and he is responding well to everything. And I was like, oh, sigh of relief. And they're like, you can pick him up around between 4 to 5. And I was like, okay, sounds great. So I think I got there like at 4. He was in his kennel apparently, just waiting to be taken home. And it was funny but sad, like, to see him after his surgery. He was in a cone, obviously. They didn't want him to be picking or licking at his incisions. They told me, they're like, he's gonna be drooling for a bit. He's a little drowsy. He's still under all the drugs. And here are the instructions for care under anesthesia. This is what you need to give him for medication, painkillers, infections, antibiotics, all of that. He's gonna finally, like, recover from this tomorrow, because it said the effects, like, last 12 hours or something. So, and I was like, he's not gonna know why he has a cone on, like, after he regains, like, consciousness. Yeah. And I was like, I feel so bad about that. So we get home and he's drooling all over the place. He's drooling all over his cone. We were like, he's not going to be able to sleep outside because we need to be able to take care of him. We were really worried that he wouldn't go back to his normal self. Like, that was it seems silly now, but it was a big fear of ours. We were like, what if he never goes back to being like himself, you know? Like, he's a troublemaker, he's a rebel, he's an everything, but we love him the way he is. Thank goodness he went back to his normal self, and he recovered really well after his surgery. We called Monday, the 10th day after surgery. He was starting to get some kind of discharge from his eye, and so we also wanted them to take a look at that when we went to get his staples out. So we go in, they take his staples out, and there's a picture of that in this video. Then we were like, okay, so what about his eye? And so they're like, oh, that looks like pink eye. They're like, give him this ointment every 2 to 3 times a day for 7 days. So we were doing that, and he just finished his 7 days and has been doing a lot better. That's the update on Balto's recovery and his surgery. He does have a pretty gnarly scar on his tummy.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow for sure.
Did you solve them all? Let me see. Oh, okay. Let me see it. I'm gonna put like 2 in there, 2 in there, 1 in there, and oops, drop the bone here. Just like that. Okay, Balto. Are you ready? Look. Are you ready? Okay, come on over here. Sit. Very good. Okay.
Balto, please! Don't go crazy on me now! Ugh.